very compelling, especially when you're using it even as a spice in your food. You start realizing like this is like health insurance. This is doing amazing things. And there's a larger notion in this field of xenohormesis that these compounds, curcumin and turmeric, catechin and green tea, resveratrol and peanuts and grapes, represent how, say if a plant is stressed, there's organically farmed one, it's got the scars, bugs are trying to eat it, it survives fluctuating weather conditions. It produces these compounds that send signals to those who eat it that they need to upregulate longevity genes, maybe downregulate those that store fat. And so this is the notion that we co-evolved or developed with certain plants such that we need them to be healthy and that we need them to be grown in a certain way. Because stressed out plants produce these polyphenols and xenohormetic compounds, not conventional farmed ones. We're using petrochemical fuel fertilizer, and then of course, fending off their pests with poisons. Yeah, so I like the terms logos and mythos. I got that from Robert Pirsig, author of Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, because it helps us to understand really where we're at. Is that at one point in time, the pre-scientific era, we had the mythos, which dominated, and it was the language we all understood. A lot of it was intuitive, sort of right hemisphere type stuff. And then now, of course, we came into the Enlightenment and science being the standard for what we think is real. And now we're coming to this point of convergence again. We're starting to understand why pomegranate was considered this immortal, food of fertility, etc. Because now we see it actually does, but it doesn't distract from the beauty of the fact it is an ovary of a plant. It heals the ovary, or the walnut heals the brain. I mean, you can't unexplain that. You have to have some awe and appreciation for what's really going on. It's the limits of our knowledge so we can experience truth in a way that is so compelling and poetic and moves us. It's happening, and the science is leading us there. Even though we shouldn't have to cut open any more animals. Okay, so I already went over this, but that's actually the study where they're showing the estrogen content and how it completely undid the ovarectomy-related, menopause in the female rats. And I have actually indexed a whole section on ovarectomy-induced changes, and this includes things like plums and grapes. It's really fruits, actually seeds, flaxseed. I mean, these are all kind of fruits, actually, technically. But so in other words, food is going to be how you maintain health late in your years, especially women who have to deal with the fact that the ovarian reserve craps out around 40. There are ways that you can maintain, obviously, the longevity by using our plant allies as intended. So that's why this is so important. This is why I do this all the time. I drink juice. This is from Joyful Juicing up in Bonita. They just opened. They do cold pressing. Love it. So when I drink this stuff, and it's expensive, it's like $11 a bottle, I understand what it's doing to me. I mean, it's just saturating my entire body with the blueprint for health that's not going to come from any vitamin bottle. It's certainly not most of the food that we eat on a daily basis. I look at this as a way to center myself and protect myself from, obviously what's going on out there. So remember, food is not just matter, building blocks, a source of energy, caloric content, but it's information. We have to protect that and be stewards of that information, which is why we're so against all the different factory farmed, GMO type of processing of our food. And hopefully, ultimately, food is what makes medicine unnecessary. So I'd like to get beyond food as medicine, sort of that whole concept, and just go back to the fact that we should hopefully never need it if we're out. And maybe we'll actually start growing it, get our hands dirty in the soil, so we can also support our underlying microbial reality. We're 99% bacteria, and then we're viruses and fungi as well. It's a miracle that we hold together the way we do. So hopefully that was helpful. We have a few minutes, I guess, for questions if anyone has a question. Yes, sir. Yeah, it's hard to say. I would say I would almost find fruits. Oh, in terms of detoxification, the difference between Yeah. Mm. Yeah. So is one more detoxifier, maybe nourishing first fruits and vegetables? I mean, looking at research, it's hard to say. I would say that they're both absolutely indispensable for both functions. You know, I think that in many ways the raw food movement has it right when it comes to fruits, at least. I mean, you can look at certain things like cruciferous vegetables, and they're kind of weaponized with anti-nutrients. Oh, oh yeah, sure. And but they also see. Here's the thing. I've been wanting to write about this for years on soy. Okay, everyone loves to just beat up soy, and I'm saying, like, the research, which most of the studies that I've indexed, and there's hundreds of them now on my site, were done on probably GMO soy. Regardless, it is almost like a miracle healing substance. It's a medicine, not so much a food. Like, I wouldn't drink soy milk all day long and eat tofu blocks. But one of the compounds that everyone hates on is protease inhibitors, which is why it may cause some hypertrophy or growth of the pancreas in the animal model. It may look like a tumor. But that's a whole category of sort of natural oncology medications, because tumors secrete a lot of protease. So everything has balance and value. Um, so anyway, I don't know what I was trying to say, but vegetables are so essential for healing, and certainly fruits. My feeling is if you don't eat those daily, and like hopefully organic, then you're probably going to be in big trouble. It's like essential to regulate, again, our genetic and epigenetic infrastructure and superstructure. So that's how I look at these foods now. So yeah, and they do so much. It's so hard to classify. You know, obviously what they do differently. But get the grains out if you can. That's like one standard rule for health I would suggest you look into.
Okay, I have two questions. The first one is on curcumin. Is it better to take, if you want the health benefits of curcumin, is it better
Yeah.
to take turmeric pills or
Yeah.
curcumin pills?
It's such a common question. It's a good one. Thank you. It's a really good one. Like, should you do curcumin, which most of the research is on this one phyto compound in turmeric, which literally has over 1,000 in orchestration. And so, of course, many want to get that form in high levels. If you're going to go target a brain tumor, you'd want to get a lessonized form that's been, sort of nana size, so it's real small, probably in combination with piperine, a black pepper extract, and it'll get through the blood-brain barrier into the brain. But if you're trying to heal, and there's a lot of clinical research on this, like colon polyps and even tumors, you want to take the whole turmeric because it doesn't get through the liver very well. There's a glucuronidation barrier, which is why they add lecithin when you try to get it through. So you don't want it to go through that way, so you just let it paint the interior of your alimentary canal this beautiful golden hue, and it starts to regress those growths. So it depends on the situation. And I believe in the rule that instead of taking these heroic doses after the fact, doing sort of nutraceutical medicine, you just want to do culinary doses. And that preventive approach, using the whole herb, is going to probably bring you way further than even science can reveal for us today. There's a new study, actually. Everyone focused on curcumin. AR-tumerone is a compound that has been found to induce neural stem cell proliferation and differentiation into new healthy neurons. So that's a compound that's actually not going to be found in the 95% standardized curcumin products. So I think as we move forward, we'll find the best way to do it is the whole plant, or do a good high-quality curcumin, again, less synthesized so it gets through the liver barrier, but always have the blueprint beneath it, the whole herb. I think Dean Martens can speak to this, of course. Paul Schulich, founder of New Chapter, this was always his philosophy, just brilliant herbalist. So yeah, I would say both, if possible.
What dose of whole turmeric?
AR Tumerone? I'm not sure what they used in the study, but it's hard to say with dose. I would say, again, if you can incorporate it into your culinary practice, or even if you do a smoothie and you put like a teaspoon of organic, hopefully wild-crafted turmeric into, it's just going to be a wonderful way to incorporate it. Yeah, so less is more. And they're finding this. Like high doses of rosemary for remembrance has recently in a clinical study found to have a cognitive impairing effect versus culinary doses having the proper cognitive enhancing effect. So we're finding, again, less is more when it comes to traditional herbs in many cases. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, well, when you're dealing with things like nanoparticles, even, and some of the information containing biomolecules in plants, they're so small in theory that shouldn't be affected by the actual mechanic, like laceration or whatever you want to call it. It would be more of heat, I would think, would be the main factor. I believe you're correct. I think even the Vitamixer concept makes sense of taking the whole plant, but there is heat generated and probably some trauma. But then, of course, the cold pressing movement is all about taking stainless steel plates, cool, and just pressing, squeezing it out so that you're really keeping a lot of it intact without pasteurization. And then, of course, there's the concept of eating the whole plant, like really taking your time and eating a carrot. Wow, what a thing that could do for your body.
Oh, the fresh turmeric root.
Yes.
Can you Vitamix that or take it as a juice or
Yeah,
anything?
I've tried. I eat fresh ginger and turmeric, and it's not a pleasant experience. So yeah, I would say if you can get it down, it's awesome. It's actually not a bad idea to do that with anything you put in your body. That's the whole philosophy against taking things in pill form. At least taste it if you're gonna. Your body will tell you how bad it is or how good. Try tasting a pharmaceutical. They're so bitter that it just melts your tissue. It's evil chemical crap.
Well, how is the powder then? What's the difference?
Powder? It's just the
What-
water. Yeah, it's just dried. Um, you don't know unless you know whether it was exposed to heat, but sometimes they sun dry it. Like in St. Lucia, I get